Hello learners, welcome to another lesson with me. Today we will be doing a poem called Eksamenlokaal by Suzaan, Laing. Okay, I'll be reading stanza by stanza and translating the poem. It says here, haar skone klik hard op die hout voor. So sy op en af stap tussen rye choopstilbanke. Okay, so her shoes they click loudly on the wooden floor as she walks up and down between rows of quiet benches. Okay, second stanza. No one dawn kraak die blaai van 'n blad. Die September examen lig. Okay, every now and then the turning of a page cracks the September exam air. Okay. Fourth stanza, hande bewe met rukke, oorskoon wit vele, lose inkwap hoor agter. Okay, so hands tremble with jerks over clean white sheets, leaving a trail of ink behind. Okay, lines uit, die horlosie tel 2 ure af, the clock is counting down 2 hours, sy stop stadig en oes die stele een vir een, blou op wit, ryp met gistermiddagse kennis. Okay, she slowly harvests the sets one by one, ripe with yesterday, or one by one, blue on white, okay, blou op wit, ripe with yesterday's afternoon's knowledge. Okay. Let us look at the background. Okay, so Suzaan wrote this poem when she was in grade 8, and every child can identify with the stress that one experiences during exams. Okay, so let us look at the title. Okay, the title. Okay, it says here Eksamenlokaal. Okay, exam room. Okay, the exam room, the title exam room refers to the place where exams take place. Okay, jy op die ruimte waar die gedig afspeel. Okay, en die plek wat leerders eksamen skryf. Okay, this is the place where learners write exam. Okay, so this place could either be the exam room could either be experienced positive or negatively, depending on if you studied or not. If you decided to chill, a few days or a few weeks before the exam and only decided to do it last minute, trust me, this would be a worse experience. But if you studied beforehand, and when I'm talking about beforehand, I'm not saying a week before, like a month. Okay, and the month that you're supposed to do this exam should only be revision, so you should have revised a month ago. Okay, then your experience would have been really, really good. Okay. Okay, it says here, hierdie eksamenlokaal kan negatief van woord. Okay, so the exam room could be experienced negatively. Okay, vooral as jy nie hard genoeg studeer het nie. Okay, especially if you didn't study enough, like in this poem, where learners only start studying the day before, or like a few minutes or a few time before the exam starts. Okay, let us look at the theme of the poem, the Tema. Okay, the Tema is spanning. Okay, tension, like when we're writing our exams, we're tensed and all that. There is vrees. Okay, we have like some type of fear. We're like, what if I forget what I studied last night? Okay, because you decided to study last minute. Okay, and we also have onzekerheid. Okay, so uncertainty. When you doubt yourself, is this the correct answer? And then when you're gonna get back your papers, you're gonna see that you shouldn't have doubted yourself because you scratched out the right answer. Okay, so the theme is spanning, vrees of onzekerheid wat leerders ervaar tydens die skryf van eksamen. Okay, so it's the tension or the fear or the uncertainties that learners experience when writing exam. Okay, this has a universal theme. Okay, because everyone can relate to it. Okay, universele tema. Okay, everyone can relate to it. It says here, alle leerders ervaar vrees tydens die skryf van eksamen. Okay, so every learner experience fear when writing exams. Okay, kinders oral in die wêreld skryf examens. Okay, children all over the world write exams. Okay, it says here, hierdie tyd is soos 'n slagveld of 'n baie moeilike tyd. Okay, so this time is like a battlefield, especially if you're suffering from a last paper syndrome and you decide not to study for your last paper. Okay, so this time is like a battlefield, studying, cramming 40 chapters or something. Okay, it's a very difficult time. Let us look at the stemming, okay, the mood. Okay, so the mood is like tense, gespanne, ernstig, serious, somber. Somber is like very gloomy or sad. Still over here quiet, right? Because in the exam room it's very quiet. Okay, angst, okay, anxious, okay, and onzekerheid, uncertainty. Okay, let us look at the speaker, the type of speaker that we have. Okay, it is an alomteenwoordige spreker of 'n derde persoon spreker. Okay, so it's like a third person speaker. It says here die soort spreker is objectief. Okay, so this speaker is objective. Okay, the spreker is 'n leerder wat eksamen skryf. Okay, so the speaker is the learner who is writing the exam. Okay, and also in this poem we have synesthesia, which is basically the use of senses in the poem. Okay, we have gehoor. Okay, the sense of hearing. Okay, klik hard. Okay, klik hard, like clicks loudly. That is the teacher's heels. Okay, die onderwyser se hakskoene, that's the teacher's heels op die houtvloer kan gehoor word. Okay, so the teacher's heels on the wooden floor can be heard, and we also have sigsintuig. Okay, the sense of sight. Okay, skoon wit vele. Okay, so this is white. Okay, white paper, clean white paper. Okay. It says here, wit papier wat gesien kan word. Okay, so white people can be seen. Okay, let us look at the typography of the poem. The poem has 5 stanzas. Okay, 11 lines in total. Okay, stanza 1 and 5 has 3 lines. Okay, ter sinne. Okay, stanza 2 and 3 has 2 lines. Okay, it's a couplet, and stanza 4 only has 1 line. Okay, also known as alleenplasing. Okay, it is a solitary placement or a single. What is it called? A single line placement. So this poem is written in free verse, okay? Geen vaste rymskema nie. There's no a particular rhyme scheme or fixed rhyme scheme, and the stanzas vary in different length, okay? Let us look at the use of punctuation in this poem. Leesteken gebruik, okay? Die punt word effectief gebruik om die verskillende aspekte van eksamen skryf aan te dui, okay? So the full stop is used effectively to indicate the different aspects of writing exams, okay? And in this poem we have progression, okay? It says that die onderwyser wat op en af tussen die banke deurstap, okay? So the teacher walking up and down between the benches, and then die leerders se angs en vrees wat hulle ervaar tydens die skryf van eksamen, and then we have the learners' anxiety and fears when they experience when they write the stress, the anxiety, the fear that learners experience while writing exams. Then we have die tyd wat so stadig verbygaan, okay? Then we have the time that is passing by so slowly, and then we have die antwoord boeke word ingeneem, the answer sheet being taken away, okay? And the theme, and the message of the poem, die boodskap, okay? It is leerders moet nie net die dag voor 'n eksamen begin leer. Very, very important message, okay? Learners should not just start studying the day before an exam, guys. Study months or weeks before, okay? Cool, it says here, volwassenes, groot mense of onderwysers moet bewys wees van die vrees en angs wat saam met eksamen skryf gaan, okay? So adults or grown-ups or teacher must be aware of the fear and the anxiety that goes on in the exam room, because they stress the learners more by walking up and down or just looking at your paper. I know the stress you guys feel. Stanza 1, it says here, daar word in hierdie strofes op aksies en voorwerpe in die Eksamenlokaal gefokus. Okay, so this stanza over here focuses on the action and the object in the exam room, okay? It says here, lines 1 to 3, haar skone klik hard op die hoofvloer, soos sy op en af stap, tussen rye troepstil banke, okay? So her shoes click loudly on the wooden floor as she walks up and down between the rows of quiet benches, okay? So guys, look at the pronoun, haar of sy, okay? It's telling us that the person that's walking up and down is a female, okay? A female teacher, okay? Vrouwelike onderwyser, okay? A female teacher is called an onderwyseres. Okay, it is the person who invigilates, okay, an invigilator, toesig houe, an invigilator, okay, the invigilator is a woman, is a vrou, okay, die onderwyseres loop op en af tussen die banke, so the teacher walks up and down between the desk, okay, and the word they click, okay, it's an onomatopoeia, okay, klanknaam, woordsing of onomatopoeia, okay, it's an onomatopoeia, it is the sound that her shoes makes while she's walking up and down of the wooden floor, okay, so it says hier waarskynlik hakskone, okay, maybe it's her heels, we know it's her heels, okay, it's making a loud noise, harde geluid, okay, dit klink baie hard, want die lokaal is doodstil, okay, so it's making a lot of noise, it's clicking really loudly because the room is dead still, okay. It says here, a harde voetval word in die stil vertrek gehoor, okay, so a loud stomping is being heard in the quiet room, okay, we can hear her feet just going click, 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 okay, and it says here, contrast tussen hard and troep stil, okay, yeah, there's a contrast between hard and troep stil, okay. It says here contrast tussen hard and troep stil, okay? So like there's a contrast between loud and quiet. We're talking about how quiet the room is and how loud the teacher's hakskone is, okay? Her heels, okay? It says here, die vloer is 'n houtvloer, okay? Omdat dit waarskynlik 'n ou skoolsaal met 'n houtvloere is, okay? So the floor is a wooden floor, probably because it's an old school hall with wooden floor, okay? It says here, sy loop tussen die banke, deur om te seker te maak die kinders skil nie of skryf by mekaar af nie, okay? So guys, she walks in between the desks to make sure that the children are not cheating or copying each other. This is something that some of you guys do, okay, sy maak seker dat alles vlot verloop of dat niks oneerliks gebeur nie, okay, so she makes sure that everything runs smoothly and that nothing dishonest happen, okay, just like cheating. And here in these 3 lines we find assonansie van die oorklank, okay, the assonance of the oor sound, okay, skone and houtvloer, and we have alliteration, H of the H sound, okay, hard houtvloer, okay. Cool. Let us look at line 3, okay, versal 3, okay, troepstil banke, okay, it's a personification, quiet benches. Benches can't be quiet, okay, this is telling us that there's dead silence while the learners are writing. Here's a doodse stilte terwyl die leerders eksamen skryf, okay, it says here, alhoewel dit sê troepstil banke, verwys dit na die leerders wat doodstil by hulle banke sit, okay, although it says quiet benches, it refers to the learners that are sitting quietly in the desk, okay, it's not literally referring to benches being quiet, okay. Okay, let us have a look at this. It says here, daar is duidelik contrast tussen die onderwyseres, wie se skone mens kan hoor terwyl sy op en af stap en die leerders wat troepstil by hulle banke sit, okay? So over here there is like a contrast between the teacher, whose shoes can be heard really loud as she walk up and down, and the learners who sit really quietly by their benches, okay? It says here, kinders kan nie rond beweeg soos die onderwyser nie, hulle word tot hulle banke beperk, okay? So the kids, the learners cannot like look around or move around, okay? So the learners cannot like move around just like the teacher, okay? They only need to sit still in their bench. It says hier, sy in tegelike waarneming. So die spreker gebruik haar sintuie om dink om haar waar te neem, okay? So here we have synesthesia present. The speaker uses her senses to perceive things around her, okay? First we have the sense of hearing, okay? Die onderwyser se skone wat daar klik op die houtvloer en kinders wat stil sit. So the teacher's shoes that is clicking very loudly on the wooden floor, and then the children being quiet, okay? We have the sense of hearing, and onderwyser se skone, die banke en hoe die onderwyser op en af staan kan gesien word, okay? This is visuele sintuig, or we can say sigsintuig, okay? So the teacher's shoes, the benches, and how the teacher walks up and down can be seen, okay? So that sense is sight, okay? And here we have an alliteration of the S sound in line 2. It is there to emphasize the tension that the learners are experiencing when the teacher walks up and down, okay? Because the teacher is making sure they're not cheating, okay? It's there to beklemtoon die spanning wat die kinders ervaar terwyl die onderwyser is, op en af stap en kyk dat hulle nie kil nie, okay? She's making sure that you're not cheating, okay? And in that lines, I think it's lines 1 to 3, yes, we find there in Jaba mens, okay? Die een reël loop oor in die volgende reël, okay? When one line flows into the next line, okay? It is there to emphasize the movements of the teacher while she is supervising, okay? Dit beklemtoon die bewegings van die onderwyseres terwyl sy toesig hou. So like it's there to emphasize the movements of the teacher while she is supervising, okay? Sy loop die hele tyd op en af, okay? So this whole time she's walking up and down continuously on here, okay? Let us look at stanza 2. It says here in stanza 2, hier word op die papier gefokus, okay? Here the focus is on the paper, okay? The learner's answer sheet, die leerders se antwoordboeke. Okay, so it says here, no one dan crack die blaai van 'n blad, okay? So every now and then the turning of a page cracks, okay? That is a metaphor, okay? Pages cannot crack, okay? Crack die blaai van 'n blad, okay? It's a metaphor. Crack. It's an onomatopoeia, okay? Klank na botsing of onomatopie. Die stilte word hier verbreek deur die geluid van die papier wat gegooi kan word, okay? So over here, the word like crack, crock, okay? It's the silence that's being broken by the sound of the paper that can be heard. So it's so dead still, guys, it's so quiet and all that, and then we hear somebody's page cracking, okay? So it's breaking the silence, okay? It says here, in die stilte wat daar hier is, kan 'n mens die papier hoor ritsel, okay? Soos die leerders die bladsye omblaai, okay? So in the silence, over here, one can hear the little rustling, you know, of the paper when the learner turn their page, okay? Die geluid wat in die stil vertrek gegooi kan word, is amper onheilspelend, okay? So the sound that can be heard, it's almost ominous, okay? So here, we have an alliteration of the BL sound over here, blaai and blad, okay? Let us look at stanza 5, the September Eksamenlokaal, okay? The September exam year, okay? So it looks like the learners are writing in September, okay? It says here, September is the tyd wanneer die examen afgelê word. So September is the time when the exam is written. Looks like they're writing prelims. You guys will be writing prelims soon. It says here in die lente, okay? During spring, okay? 'n vroulike tyd, a happy time for nature, but not you guys, okay? It says here, maar nie so vroulik nou vir die leerders nie, okay? So it's not so happy for the learners, okay? Examentyd gaan met vrees en angs gepaard, okay? So the exam time is accompanied by fear and anxiety, guys. We all know this. Everybody experiences an exam in their lifetime. It says jy gaan 12 voorbereidende examen vind gewoonlik in September plus, okay? So the grade 12 prelim exams usually takes place in September, okay? In other words, we also call it a preparatory exam, okay? So die atmosfeer of lug is gespanne, okay? So the atmosphere or the air, you know, it's very tense, okay? Let us look at the third stanza. It says here, en hierdie strofe word daar op die hande van die leerders gefokus. Okay, so here we focus on the hands of the learner. Okay, line 6, it says here, hande bewe met ryke oor skoon wit vyle. Okay, so that's a metaphor. Okay, hands trembles over clean white sheets. Okay. Guys, hande wat bewe dui op leerders se neurweeragtigheid terwyl hulle eksamen skryf, okay? So the hands that are shaking, it's basically indicating the learner's nervousness while they're writing exam, okay? Die papiervyle waarop die leerders besig is om te skryf, so that's where they're writing on the paper or on the sheet, okay? Is op hierdie stadium nog skoon, okay? So, is at this stage, it is clean, okay? Their paper at this stage, it is clean. It says here, loos 'n inkwaboel agter, okay? So they leave a trail of ink behind, okay? Waar boel, okay? It means like something confusing or jumbled or disorganized or chaotic, okay? Ink, okay, it's the letters of woorde wat die leerders nie skryf in ink met 'n pen, okay? So ink, it's the letters, the words that the learners used to write down, okay? In ink with a pen, okay? Inkwaboel, okay? It's a contrast between skoon, clean, okay? Skoon wit papier, okay? Clean white paper. And now we have inkwaboel, all like jumbled up paper where it's full of writing, okay? It says here in the first point, eers was die vyle papier skoon voor die leerders die vraestel begin beantwoord het, maar nou is dit Maar nou is dit volgeskryf. Okay, so at first, the sheets of paper, it says jy eers wat die vuile papier skoon vir die leerders die vraestel begin beantwoord het, maar nou is dit volgeskryf. Okay, so at first, the sheets were clean, okay, wit skoon papier, okay, clean white paper, and now when the learner started answering the question paper, it's getting full of writings, okay, so that's why they're talking about an ink mess, okay, so literally it's referring to like untidy or like, sloppy handwriting, okay, like scribbling, or the scribbling or the scratching out of words, okay, doodkrap of uitkrap van woorde, okay, so letterlik verwys dit na onnetkiese of sladige handskrif van die lede soos die doodkrap of uitkrap van woorde, okay? Okay, vergeelik het size hier, kan dit verwys na die lede se gedagtes, wat in 'n waarboel of die mekaar is. Okay, so figuratively, that inkwarbol, that ink mess can refer to learners thought being like in one whole jumble mess, okay? So, when you like put your thoughts into the paper, you're bound to make an ink mess, okay? Cool, it says jy feite of inligting, okay, so maybe facts or information, okay, they're not presented in order, okay, word nie geordend, weergegee nie, okay, so it's not presented in an orderly fashion, of feite word jy mekaar aangebeur, or the facts are being mixed up, okay, dalk ken die leerders nie sy werk so goed nie, okay, so, yeah, perhaps the learners don't know their work, okay, I'm pretty sure majority of you have found yourself in the situation, okay, it says here, dit wat op papier weergegee word, is die mekaar insladig, okay, so here, what is being produced from this paper is only messiness and untidiness, okay, stanza 4, it says, in hierdie strofe gaan dit oor die tyd wat verbytik. Okay, so here it's telling us about, the stanza is telling us about time that is passing. Okay, it says, die horlosie tel 12 ure af. Okay, the clock is counting down to hours. Okay, that's a personification. Okay, and lines 8, that it's standing alone. Okay, we call it a single line placement or solitary placement. Slegs een versel in hierdie strofe. There's only one line in the stanza. Okay, it is there to emphasize how slow time is passing. Okay, dit is om te beklemtoon hoe stadig die tyd verbygaan. Okay, so wanneer 'n mens eksamen skryf, kan die tyd stadig verbygaan, veral as jy nie eintlik jou werk ken nie. Okay, so like when you're writing an exam, time can pass slow, and especially if you don't know your work, time will pass slow. Okay. Het says die vraestel wat hier geskryf word is 2 uur lang. Okay, so this question over here that is being written is 2 hour long. Okay, gewoonlik sê ons 2 uur en nie 2 ure nie. Okay, so usually we say 2 hours and not 2 hours over here, ure. Okay, that meervoud over there, that plural is there to emphasize how slow time is going by. Okay, the long sound of ure, okay, as opposed to uur. Okay, uur sounds shorter. Okay, so that ure, it's just showing us that time is going slow. Okay, let us look at the first stanza. Okay, so the first stanza goes on about the teacher taking the answer sheets and all of that. Okay, lines 9. Het says yes, hy stop stadig en oes die stelle een vir een, okay, so she's walking slowly and harvesting the set one by one, okay, the C is die onderwyseres, okay, Cele is the answer sheet or the answer book, okay. So, oes over here, die antwoordstele is gereed en word deur die onderwyseres ingeneem. Okay, oes, the harvest. Okay, guys, harvest, we can only harvest something once it's ready. Okay, so time is up, which means that the papers are ready to be collected. Okay, so the answer sheets are ready and they're being collected by the teacher. Okay, so say stop starter. She walks slowly and really calm, because she's not in your shoes, she's not writing, she doesn't know how it feels. Okay, it says here, sluit by strofe 4 aan waar die tyd stadig verby gaan. Okay, so this goes like hand in hand where time passes slowly, just like in stanza 4. Okay, and we also find alliteration of the S sound over here, S over here, S and S, cool. Okay, it is there to emphasize that the answer sheets are being taken in slowly. Okay, so the metaphor, there's a metaphor here that begins with the word oes. Okay, it begins with the word harvest and ends with the word ripe over here in lines 11. Okay, hier het ons dan nou 'n metafoor vir vele papier wat ryk in kennis en nou geoes kan word soos 'n boer sy gesaaide sal oes. Okay, so over here, this metaphor, it begins with oes and then ends with ripe in lines 11. Okay, here this metaphor is basically referring to we harvesting the paper that is full and rich in knowledge, and just like that it could be harvested just like a farmer harvesting its crop. Okay, blauw op wit, okay, blue on white. So the learner is literally writing his answer with a blue pen on the paper. Die leerders het letterlik sy antwoord met 'n blou pen op die wit papier geskryf. Okay, dit kan vergeelig gesien word dat die leerders se kennis onvoldoende was, dat hy dalk nie sy werk so goed geken het nie. Okay, so over here it looks like the learners didn't have like enough knowledge for this test, or they didn't work well enough. Okay, and the double punt, okay, the colon over here, it's indicating to us that an explanation will follow. Okay, and this is the explanation over here. It says ryp met gistermiddag se kennis. Okay, ripe with yesterday's knowledge. Okay, yesterday afternoon's knowledge. Okay, ripe over here, ripe. Okay, it has a figurative reference. Okay, vergeelig verwys die woord na al die kennis wat die kind opgedoen het. Okay, it refers to all the knowledge that the kid or the learner has acquired. Okay, die boer begin gewoonlik oes wanneer sy produk ryp is. Okay, So the farmer usually begins to harvest when the produce is ripe, okay? Nou was die onderwysers die kennis van die kind, okay? Now the teacher is like harvesting the knowledge of the kid, the child, okay? But the knowledge of the kid on the paper, okay? It says jy maar die gebruik van die woord ripe kan egter hier as ironieus gesien word, okay? So here, the word ripe can be seen as ironic, okay? Why? Because the child only started to prepare for the exam the previous afternoon, die vorige middag, okay? So this may indicate that he was not that well prepared, okay? He was not prepared for the exam, okay? Not only that, but ripe over here has to do with something negative, okay? The ripe that ruins the farmer's harvest, okay? So, the time that passes slowly in stanza 4 is also a sign that the learner has not studied enough, okay? So, die tyd wat so stadig verbygaan in strofe 4 is ook vir ons 'n teken dat die leerder nie so hard geleer het nie, want gewoonlik gaan die tyd in die eksamen te vinnig verby as jy jou werk deeglik ken, okay? So, the time going by really slowly also shows us that the learner didn't know his work thoroughly or he didn't revise thoroughly, okay? And gistermiddag over here, yesterday afternoon, means that the learner studied for the exam the previous afternoon, die vorige middag, okay? What a pity. A sign that the learner was not really prepared for this exam, okay? You need to prepare few days before an exam, not just the day before, okay? This will help you not to be nervous in the exam room or anything or have like a little panic attack, okay? So guys, this is it for today. For this poem, actually, I will see you next lesson.